Have a great conversation going on today. And I want to say I am looking forward to this because this is something that matters to all of us as firm owners. So first of all, thank you for taking time away from working in your business and joining us today. This is Lauren Fogelman with Business Success Solution. And what we're going to be talking about is how to generate more leads with your accounting firm's website. And my special guest that's going to be diving into this topic is Matt Banker. But I want to let you know you are in the right place if you have a website and it might be actually working against your firm. So that is something to be aware of, and you might not even realize how that's happening. Then how it's possible that your website and what it looks like, what's on it, actually affects the fees that you charge. And the last thing we're going to dive into is the top marketing tactics for firm owners today. I suggest you have pen and paper ready because Matt is very generous in how much he's going to share, and we'll also let you know how to be able to connect with him as we wrap up. A little bit about Matt. He is the founder and lead strategist at Benchmark Growth Marketing. It's a marketing agency for accounting firms. And Matt has been designing and building websites and found that he grew frustrated because it was difficult to create really good content for the website, and that clients tend to struggle and wonder what ought to be on a website and what isn't, because let's face it, most accounting professionals are not marketing savvy or experts. And a lot of times marketing agencies end up treating the words on a site almost as an afterthought. They're more focused on design. So that's why he founded a words first agency, and that this really helps to amplify firm owners about how to communicate the value and also be able to create marketing materials that have you stand out as the go-to expert instead of blending in with everybody else who offers similar services. Anyway, you can learn more about Benchmark Growth Marketing at marketingforaccountingfirms.com. And let's go ahead. And Matt, I'd love to be able to have you join us, and let's just dive right in.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's a great topic. I love talking about websites and words and marketing for accounting firms. So I'm excited.
And before we go into really the discussion, just a little bit about how you came to be moving in this direction for firm owners.
Yeah, well, you kind of mentioned it in that intro, but the words on a website are really the most important thing. You have to have good design. You need to look professional. All of those things are important, but really, like, what you're communicating is the most important thing. And it's really a struggle when you're very close to your business, understanding what do you need to communicate and how to communicate it to people who are a lot less sophisticated than you. They don't understand accounting. They're probably overwhelmed. That's why they're reaching out to you anyway. And so when you use a lot of jargon or other like insider language, acronyms, things like that, people get really confused. And it's all stuff that for an accounting firm, it's second nature. You're so familiar with the topic, but your customers are confused. And I love working with accounting firms. I a little bit stumbled my way in here because my background originally was in fine arts. I painted and studied sculpture in school, and I found that my skill set really was very different than most of my clients. My accounting firm clients, tend to be really, good at math, like kind of technical in their viewpoint of the world and all of that. But, bringing some of that creativity and artistic design, I just found that it was the right match between what they need and what I can kind of bring. And so I'm all in. We just do marketing for accounting firms really at this point. That's my main focus. And yeah, they're great. I love accounting firm owners.
And one of the things that I just want to dive into right away, because I think that it grabs attention, is that their website might actually be working against them and they don't even realize that. And I am absolutely on the same page as you and would love to hear your point of view.
Well, so I like to think about your website as, well, first of all, it's the first impression that it's going to make on most of your prospects. Even if it's through a referral, one of the first steps, stops that they make is going to be on your website. And I like to think of it as if it's like a suit. You're dressing up, for a sales call. You put on your nice suit and your tie, and you go meet someone. If you show up in kind of a ratty suit with, patches on the elbows and like it's ill-fitting and your tie is all crooked, first of all, we're maybe overly focused on image. It doesn't really say anything about your ability to do the work, but it does make a pretty incredible impression on your prospects. So how you show up, those first impressions are really important. And so for firms that have an outdated website or one that doesn't look good on mobile or that's really confusing, I say it's like showing up to a sales call in an ill-fitting, ratty suit. Your services might be great, but the impression that you're making is that you're not really that put together, you're not super organized, or that you're behind in the times. And those are all things that are really going to affect how people perceive the services that you offer. And we'll get into it in a little bit, but that's also going to affect their expectations when it comes to your pricing. If you look like you're a fly-by-night organization, the best case scenario for your clients is, well, maybe at least they're cheap, right? And so none of that is what you're trying to communicate to your prospects, but a lot of that comes through, unfortunately, on a lot of firm websites.
And part of what I see, because like you, I review a lot of accounting firms' websites, not as many as you do, but what I see is, okay, you're talking about cheap. A lot of times they talk about, well, we have affordable services, or we give away free year-round tax advice. And that right there is creating an impression that they don't even realize that is undermining the value and part of what they bring to the table or the difference that they make. The other thing that you were talking about earlier is when you go to the services page, that there's this long laundry list. And when they do put, oh, we do AR, AP, reconciliations, categorizations, as you mentioned, your clients aren't actually that savvy. They might not know it, even though they need every single one of those things. So it sounds like what you do is help them translate it in order for someone coming to view their website will really get it and it like connects the dots, as opposed to just bouncing off because it's too overwhelming figuring out what all those terms mean.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an irony. I work with so many accountants, but I sort of try to limit how much I know about accounting, because in reality, I am your ideal customer. I am coming to your website. And so in my seat as a marketer, I want to be able to be in the shoes of your customer and say, oh, that looks confusing, or I wouldn't really know what this is. Now, I mean, I'm sure there are some business owners, your clients, who are more savvy than I am, but there's this thing called the curse of knowledge, which is when you know so much about a topic that you can only speak about it at a graduate school level in the topic, but really your customers are buying at like a third grade level. And it's not because they're dumb, it's because they're really great at architecture or marketing or running a restaurant. Their brain power is put into something other than accounting, and your experience and brain power is put into accounting. So you have to make sure that you speak to your clients and your prospects at a level that makes sense to them, not speaking down to them, but in a way that is clear so that you're not confusing them. People don't move forward into ambiguity or confusion. They have to have clarity. And if they don't understand your terminology, it just adds confusion to the conversation in a way that is hurting you, I think.
And what I'm hearing is that because of that, you're coming from that potential client perspective of really trying to grasp what they're doing and then being able to come up with the messaging. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about the messaging and what makes it so critical for accounting firm owners to nail that.
So I have a perspective that it's really important to understand your messaging. So messaging is one of those words, honestly, that is very common in my world, but is kind of confusing, I think, to accountants and other, business owners. What I mean by that, though, is it's the main ideas and words that you're using to talk to your customers about what it is that you do, how you make their life better, what kind of not the features of your service or product, but what are the outcomes, what are the benefits, those sorts of things. And you need to have a really clear idea. Are you going to your clients and saying, we're going to give you more time, we're going to take things off your plate? Or are you going and saying, we're going to give you advice to help you become more profitable? Because those are somewhat different things. And there's plenty of firms that, position and think of themselves in one lane or the other. Some might really just want to lead with, we help you save money on taxes or whatever that is. But instead, on their website, it says something like accounting solutions for business. Now, I don't know, or I don't really know what that means. You don't really know what that means. Your clients don't really know what that means, but it kind of covers everything that you do. So that's when I think about messaging, it's like, how do you have a clear sort of single message about the value that you bring? Because people want to buy, you don't want to compete on price. You want to compete on like, what is it that you're doing to help them grow their business? And honestly, there's just a lot less price sensitivity when they know, oh, this is the outcome or the value that I'm getting out of it, rather than just like thinking of it as like a menu of, oh, do they do A, B, C? Okay, check the box and then, write the check. That outcome really comes from the messaging, and it takes some work. You got to figure out what is your core promise really to your client. Like, what is the promise that your marketing, your website, everything you say is putting out there? And then you have to make sure that your team and your services can deliver upon that promise.
First of all, the pricing part of it and the price sensitivity is something that is my favorite topic.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing is that if you talk too much about the functions, the tasks, the work that you actually do, then clients coming to your website will see you as that technician. They'll be more price sensitive. But when you're focusing on something that's top of mind for those clients, which is solutions, benefits, outcomes, then it actually leads with your expertise and that you have the know-how and the tools to be able to achieve that result. So when you're actually helping a firm owner, Matt, come up with the solution that they offer, then it actually raises their perceived value within those first couple of seconds that someone might be landing on their website. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's this idea that most companies sell solutions to external problems, right? We're going to reconcile your bank accounts. We're going to do, monthly P&L. We're going to do your taxes. Those are all tasks that you do. It's solutions to external things. They don't want to do that. But business owners, people buy solutions to internal problems. They want peace of mind. They want to know that their business is heading in the right direction. They want to have the confidence that if a global pandemic happens and the government is giving a bunch of money away, that they can call someone who knows how to, apply for it. And that's the value. As a business owner, I will pay more knowing that there's a person I trust that I can call. And so that's the biggest thing that most people are looking for. They're not comparing your technical skill with someone else's technical skill. They're thinking okay, but what value do you bring to me as an owner beyond just the tasks? That's the thing that most buying decisions are actually rooted in, is that internal discussion, not just it's table stakes, right? To be able to have accurate books and timely reports. Those are every accounting firm is going to promise that, and it's part of what's required to be successful, but it's not enough to stand out. You really have to address what are those bigger internal things. And people will pay a lot more money. They see you as a commodity if it's just about completing tasks. But if they see you as a guide or a trusted advisor, you can't really put a price on that. I mean, you do, and I'm sure that's a lot of what you talk with your customers about. But it's much more valuable to a business owner.
And when you're looking at building your website or revamping it and giving it that facelift so that it more accurately represents you and your firm, it is going to be an investment, and that you want it to actually be something that actually generates leads, as opposed to being a cost where it's just a business card that people come and then they bounce off. So let's talk about, what the investment would be for website, because they're all over the place.
it's all over the place. And this is a really important topic. There's a couple things that are important when you start talking about marketing in general. So the one thing I'll say is marketing is expensive, but you can pay in time or money, right? I believe every firm owner, you're smart, you're entrepreneurial, you can figure out how to run a great marketing program for yourself, but it's going to take time. So when I say it's expensive, if you do it yourself, it's not something that you can do a couple hours here and there. You really have to invest into it. If you hire someone else, it's expensive as well. We're all in the professional services space. I think most firm owners are shooting for, $150 an hour as kind of their, effective billable rate. Now, I don't think you should bill by the hour, but that's a different, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I
what
understand. I get
you're
it.
trying to charge. And it's similar for marketing agencies. What you want to do though, is you want to, whenever you're thinking about the cost or the investment in a website, is understand what you're paying for and what you're going to get, as the ROI. There are a lot of templated CPA focused websites out there. Generally, the downside to that is you're using boilerplate language. You're kind of copying and pasting. There's a dozen or 100 other websites out there that have basically the same language. It's not unique to you. Google doesn't love seeing duplicate content across the internet and all that. But there are some times when you're just starting out and you need something and you're going to go with a low cost solution. It might be $200 a month or $400 a month or something like that. That's really the cheapest way to do it. You cash flow it because it's a monthly fee. Then you'll have a bunch of agencies, freelancers in, I would say, the middle zone that are charging, $4,000 to $8,000 maybe for a website. And what's really important to think about is, are you getting there? There's the writing of a website, there's the designing, and there's the building of a website. And you want to make sure, are you getting all three of those things? A lot of agencies say, give us the content and then we'll build a really beautiful site. And I love the idea of it, but writing the content, I know, is one of the hardest things for accounting firm owners. And so if you're working with the web designer and they say, yeah, just tell us what you want the website to say, well, that's going to take some time on your part. And it's going to be, in a lot of cases, it's very difficult. So that'll bring me to, where we're at. We're a more expensive version. We do fully custom design, and we help you write the website and then design and build it. And so, for us, depending on the complexity of a website, it could be anywhere from $12,000 to $20,000 for a website. Now, a firm owner might say that's incredibly expensive. They maybe never ever thought of that. We like to think, if I don't know how many of your listeners are into kind of the mergers acquisitions world, but a lot of firms will buy another firm for like 1.2x annual revenue. And what we've kind of come up with is this equation that a new client to most of our customers is worth between $4,000 and $6,000. Between $6,000 and $12,000 a year, right? And so if you redesign your website and it costs you, $18,000 and it brings you more than 4 or 5 clients, it's an incredibly valuable investment at that point. So, understanding that marketing is expensive, developing the right mindset around this is an investment, and then also attaching it to what are your expected outcomes, and then you can determine if that was a worthwhile investment. I think all of those things are really important when in that whole investment discussion. I'm sometimes more price sensitive even than my clients are. And so I recognize that's a huge amount of money for some firms, but I do think that it's a really, the website, your marketing is really an incredibly important thing if you have growth aspirations at all.
And I think that one of the things that you're talking about is that this is very customized services, what you're doing. It's similar to someone that might want to fly first class on a plane as opposed to coach. And also that it's not just about how pretty your website looks. It's about what is on there. And is it something that's going to grab attention because it speaks to that person? Or is it maybe missing the mark, even though it looks beautiful? And someone isn't really getting why they ought to move in your direction or another. So and one of the things I do hear you talking about, which I fully agree with, is that this is an investment when it's done properly, not a cost, because this will help generate leads as opposed to causing people to bounce off and move on. So, okay, pricing. If people are going to make the investment in this website design because they want to be seen as that go-to expert, they realize the investment pays off over time, and they don't have to do the writing themselves because they don't know what to say anyway. How does that affect their prices and what they're able to charge their clients?
Yeah, I think one of the underrated aspects of having a really great customized website, I think, is that it really helps justify when you have higher fees. It helps people understand, because you're leading with, and this goes back to having the right words, when you're leading with value, like what is the value you bring to your clients rather than features, or if you lead with benefits, or you lead with how we solve your problems, those things all help people understand, oh, you're not just a bookkeeper, right? You're not just a tax preparer. You're there as a guide, as someone who's there to support the business owner in what they're trying to do, or individual, like trying to succeed in life. So the messaging really helps support and help people understand the value behind the prices. I'm a big believer, actually, this idea that different is better than better. And so one of the ways that can happen sometimes is if your prices are significantly higher than your competition, it opens up a question, possibly in a good way, of like, well, how much more am I getting from you that I'm not getting over there? It doesn't always turn people off, especially the best clients. They're not looking for the cheapest deal, right? So if I said, hey, I know this really great heart surgeon, he's super cheap, right? Like that is not the sort of thing that you want to hear. It's the same thing with an accountant. If you say, oh, I know this great accountant, he's super cheap. Well, that's not actually what I want as a business owner. I want someone who has that value. And so the website communicating that clearly, both through the design and through the words, helps justify higher prices. And when people, I know you and I have somewhat different perspectives on whether to list pricing on a website.
Yeah.
But if people get on the phone with you, when your website matches the premium service or pricing that you are going to be presenting, people experience a lot less sticker shock. If your website looks cheap and then they talk to you and the proposal they get is a number much higher than they were expecting, it feels like a mismatch. Like, how can you be so expensive and your website be so bad? You know, it feels, it adds another layer of, I think, questioning in there. So that's my perspective on it, at least. But I think that raising your prices right after a great website redesign sometimes feels easier as well, because you feel like now my service, my messaging, and the pricing are all in alignment. They make sense with each other.
And I think the alignment is the important piece of it, because if you were to go shopping, I would have a very different expectation of the quality of jeans I would get at Walmart than if I went to Nordstrom. 100%. And they're both going to be jeans, but I expect to pay significantly higher prices for the jeans from Nordstrom because of the quality that I would expect it to be, how the services, I might actually be able to find someone to help me get that right fit jean and everything like that.
Yeah.
Whereas Walmart, there's very low expectations.
And you can tell when you walk into a Nordstrom's, it feels different than when you walk into a Walmart. And so your expectations, even if you're not consciously thinking about that, when you walk into a mall, you know, into a Nordstrom, you look around, you see how they present everything, you know, the quality, it's in the air almost, right? The environment really affects your expectations, whereas a Walmart doesn't. And that's fine. You're right. They're totally different services. They can both exist in the world.
Absolutely. And you can shop at both, because, but you know that when you walk into one store versus the other, the expectations are different with the experience and the quality of what you receive. So I think that one of the things that I've been hearing is you're talking about don't focus so much on the features, which is the tactical part of what you do, the technical aspect of your work. Focus on the outcome and the benefits. And that what you're talking about is really going to appeal to a lot of firm owners that want to start raising the bar as far as how they're perceived, up-leveling who they're working with, so they're working with a more quality client, but maybe they're not ready to make that full investment yet. So are there any things that they can maybe start doing now to move in that direction until, to prepare them for that full investment?
Yeah. Well, the first thing that there's two really simple things that I think are great that anyone can do. So one is go to your website with fresh eyes. So try to eliminate everything from your brain about what you know about your firm. Just go to the website and imagine you are a completely cold prospect who's landed there. I want you to look at the front page of your site and say, within 5 seconds, could someone understand exactly what it is that you do and who it's for, how it's going to make their life better in some way, and then what are the next steps to get it? If your website, that we call it the hero section, above the fold, when you first land on it, if it can answer those 3 questions in 5 seconds or less, then you're in a strong position. The rest of the website is important, but that first page, that first load is the most important. And you need to be able to say, what do you do and who do you do it for? How does it make their life better? And what are the next steps to getting it? That's a good start. The other kind of simple tactic that I would do right now is so marketing, there's really only two pieces to it. It's about eyeballs and phone calls. So eyeballs are, you got to get enough traffic to your site. You have to be known and seen. And then phone calls are, you need to then convert that traffic, those eyeballs, into a call, right? It could be Zoom, it could be, even over email or something. But that homepage is all about phone calls. Can you get them on the to book a call or start a conversation? The other piece is on your contact form, you need to know where your main prospects and clients are coming from. And so I would just add a field that says, how did you hear about us? And leave it, don't give them any options. Just leave it blank, because otherwise they're often going to pick the first one that's on the list. But just what you're trying to do is gather some data to know, what are the channels that are actually bringing people to me? Is it coming through referrals? Are they finding me on Google? Did they see something on social media? Because a lot of firms don't actually know where their prospects are coming from or how they're getting there. And so it's really hard to know what they need to fix or what marketing is working for them or not. They often are kind of operating in the dark. So we call it self attribution. People are just telling you how they found out about you. And that's great data to have from a marketing perspective.
And so part of what I'm hearing that they could start doing on their own is look at their website. Can you understand who it's for, what it is that you might be doing, how it might benefit the client, the results that they might achieve, and the next steps to take if they're interested in having that phone call or meeting with you. I love the fact about creating that blank space for them to let you know how they found out about you, because it's similar to what accounting professionals do anyway, where they want to find, how did the money end up in this categorization or get applied this way? They're doing that all day long as far as the financials. Let's take that same thing that they do and now apply it to how people are marketing, how people are finding them, so they're getting more marketing savvy also. So the last question I want to ask is, any most important marketing tactics that a firm owner ought to consider?
Yeah, so the biggest determining factor about where you should be investing your marketing time or money is whether you are a generalist or a niche firm. That's, if you serve everybody, what I'm going to say is, in most cases, that means your niche is your local geography. So if you're a generalist, I work mostly with accountants who primarily serve small businesses. So if you serve all kinds of small businesses, what you really need to do is focus on maximizing your local impact, because the reason people work with a generalist instead of a specialist is usually, well, I could drive over and meet my accountant in person if I wanted. So you're thinking 15 to 30 miles is kind of the max area, and you're going to want to focus on local SEO is a really important thing, so that you show up in the map pack when someone types in accountant near me or tax CPA near me. You want to show up as at the top of that list. And so there are local SEO companies, and they're different than what I would call keyword SEO, which tends to be more of a blog article content focused tactic. Local SEO is a little different. So make sure if you're talking to an agency about that you understand, is this a keyword article based SEO approach, or is this more about the local listings and all of that? If you're a niche firm, I love podcasts. I think that if you do accounting for lawyers, or you do accounting for roofers, there are podcasts out there just for construction people. There are podcasts just for real estate agents. And so one of the great tactics, I think, is start to guest, put together a pitch and go on these podcasts. If you can get speaking opportunities, or you can go to conferences, those are great as well. But get out there and just start being known in the industry, in the niche industry that you're focused on. So if you're a generalist, you want to be as findable as possible. And if you have a niche, there's a lot more opportunity for you to go out and find the groups of people that you're serving. And like I said, podcasts are a great way to get started on that.
So if you're generalist, focus on the geography within 15 to 30 miles, just so that we are clear about SEO. It's being found by search engines when someone's putting in accounting firm, city and state. And then niche is really getting on podcasts, because that actually automatically positions you as an expert in somebody else's eyes. Matt, I'm just going to start to wrap it up. You made so many powerful points today. This is a conversation that I know I can dig into even further, because it does make a difference. And some of the things that we did touch on is how your website works against your firm, how it also can be impacting the fees that you're charging, and some tactics for firm owners. If somebody wanted to reach out to you and find out more about benchmark growth marketing, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the social media platform I'm most active on. And then marketingforaccountingfirms.com is our website. And I also have a podcast called Marketing for Accounting Firms. It's straightforward, it's descriptive. So if you do a Google search for those sorts of things, you should be able to find us pretty easily.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the engaging conversation, and for everybody that has joined us today. This is Lauren Fogelman with Business Success Solution, showing accounting professionals how to double their income working half the time.